Hello? Hello? That's not right. There we are. And we're here to Phoenix Wright, Ass Attorney. Everything alright? Yep, there we are. There we are. Alright. We are back. I should play Castlevania. That'd be a really good series. What is a man? Yeah, that's this guy. That's Dracula. What is a man but a flashlight? I was brought here by humans. But yeah, on the last episode, let's see. Where is it? There we are. On the last episode, Emma got killed. We left her alone with Damon Gantz, which is a huge mistake, in my opinion. Yes, we're celebrating death. Yeah, Emma Skye. Damon Gant. He fired Gumshoe. He told Phoenix to get out of his office, and we left Emma behind, all within the span of like 30 seconds. Oh yeah, yeah, she's definitely dead. Oh, and we also figured out that Damon Gant is also probably behind everything because the girl. He's bad. Yeah. The nerd. Nerd! Oh yeah, we also found her fingerprints on a piece of cloth that was hidden in Damon Gant's safe, along with the final piece of the jar. He killed the child. Mamma mia. Yeah, let's get into it. So welcome back to Phoenix Wright, Ace Attorney, Episode 5, Rise from the Ashes. Final day. Huh, I'm a guard. February 25th, 9:47 a.m. District Court Defendant Lobby, number 2. This is the defendant lobby, alright. But there's no defendants. I've been trying to reach Lana all morning. Where could she be? And where's Emma, for all that matter? It almost seems as if she's dead. Something's been happening behind the scenes. Fuck. Something's been happening behind the scenes. Edgeworth. Knowing you, you've already figured it out. Who the owner of 7777777 ID number is, that is. Well, I have a pretty strong hunch. Looks like I'm not the only one who figured it out. Yeah, I'll allow that.
You know, the only reason this trial didn't reach a verdict yesterday is because there was still room for doubt regarding this ID record. If that number does belong to whom you suspect, then no doubt will remain. After all, he hasn't been officially charged with anything.
True. Not yet.
In any event, once all doubt has been removed from that list, I can call for a ruling. 5 minutes right, and Chief Prosecutor Skye will be found guilty.
She didn't do it.
I figured you'd say as much, that's why I came here, to hear what you'd have to say.
This is the first time he's ever done something like this. Lana's hiding something, and the only way we'll ever know the truth is to draw it out of her.
The truth?
Everything goes back to the SL9 incident. Oh! Edgeworth, this is his last trial. He's resigning after this. Everything goes back to the SL9 incident.
Don't be stupid. Today's the last day of the trial. We don't have time to reminisce about the past.
That depends on you. If she's found guilty, you'll lose your only chance to find out what really happened.
I'll think about it. See you in court, right?
This is it. If I'm ever gonna find out what Chief Gant has on her, it's now. Same day, just like 45 minutes later.
The court is now in session for the trial of Miss Lana Skye.
The defense is ready, Your Honor.
The prosecution is ready, Your Honor.
Normally, this is when the prosecution puts forth its opening statements. But before that, the police chief has a proposal to make.
Chief Gant.
Hello there! Morning, folks! How's everyone doing? Hey, Ajay, been back to the pool yet? No, I've been drowning enough as it is in my work. That's a good one. Don't think I can top that.
If you don't mind me asking, Chief, what exactly is this proposal of yours?
Lana, that is to say, the defendants, has asked me if she could speak directly to the court.
She wants to do what?
Having heard what she intends to say, I feel she should be granted her request. In the end, it should save everyone a lot of time and trouble.
What's this all about, defendants?
I'd like to make one simple request, and I'll be finished.
Well then, what's your request?
Your Honor, I'd like you to put an immediate end to this trial.
Huh?
I confess to all charges against me. On February 21st of this year, I murdered Detective Bruce Goodman in the other underground parking lot of the prosecutor's office. Oh. Well, thank you for watching Phoenix Wright, Ace Attorney. No, Lana! You can't! Women!
Death penalty?
Your Honor, the defense claim does not change the defense's plea. Defendant's claim. In that case, Mr. Wright, I no longer require your services. But Lana! Your Honor, I hereby forfeit my right to an attorney. The prosecution may lack direct evidence against me, but it has sufficiently proven its case through the testimony and circumstantial evidence. I would like you to render your verdict now, if you please.
Well, the defendant certainly has the right to self-representation. The request is legally valid, although it is an unprecedented situation. Indeed, it appears there's no further need to continue this trial. Phoenix, get out of here. Even if Mr. Wright may feel otherwise.
This can't be happening.
It appears the time for the verdict has arrived. This court finds the defendants.
Objection! One moment, Your Honor.
Mr. Edgeworth!
The prosecution has not yet proven the defendant's guilty verdict beyond reasonable doubt. Any ruling at this stage would certainly be premature.
Come now, Worthy. I understand this is a difficult time for you, but why don't you just be a good little boy and keep your little mouth shut?
I don't think I care for your tone, Chief Gantz.
What?
Creating another fabrication to cover up your past mistakes. Sorry, but I'm no longer the naive little boy you would have me be. With this sudden confession from the defendants, it's obvious to me that some kind of deal was struck behind the scenes.
Some kind of deal, Not everyone operates as you do, Worthy.
I thought so. Your Honor, the prosecution would like to change its first witness.
Oh? To whom?
As its first witness, the prosecution would like to call Miss Emma Skye.
Oh. I don't think you heard. She won't be coming in today.
I request the court hears her testimony.
Mr. Edgeworth, I'm exercising my right to self-representation. I don't think we need to continue.
I don't care what you think, Miss Skye. The exposure of the truth sometimes results in tragedy. However, no matter how tragic the truth may be, it would be an even greater tragedy to avert one's eyes from it.
Very well, the court shall grant the prosecution's request. That's okay with you, right, Chief Gantz? Worthy, you'll live to regret this. Mark my words.
Miss Emma Skye, please take the stand. Looks like I just got fired. Looks like Edgeworth has decided to take the horse by the reins. Oh, you're alive. Now then, witness, please state your name and occupation.
My name is Emma Skye. My occupation? I'm Lana's little sister, and I want to be a scientific investigator.
2 years ago, you encountered the serial killer Joe Dark of the Joe Dark killings. And Joe Dark. He killed a man accidentally with his car, and then he killed the witness. And then he killed the witness that saw him kill that witness. And then while burying everyone, he killed that witness too. So,
that's who Joe Dark is.
Is this correct?
Yes. I'm trying my hardest to forget about that, though.
I'm sorry, but I'm afraid I'm going to ask you to recall those events one more time.
Mr. Edgeworth, please remember this trial concerned the murder of Detective Goodman. This incident that was resolved 2 years ago really all that relevant?
Yes, it most certainly is. Trust me, Your Honor.
Well, okay then.
You sure gave in fast. Now, please testify about what happened to you 2 years ago.
The trip to yesteryear has finally begun. It's bound to lead to the truth behind this trial. Metal Gear. I was waiting in my sister's office that day. A man came running in and took me hostage. Neil Marshall rescued me. He was a cowboy. I'll never forget what I saw in that instant. The man raised up his knife and stabbed Mr. Von Karma in the chest.
It's a good thing you weren't harmed.
I passed out. I don't remember much.
That's understandable. However, please tell me, Mr. Edgeworth. What does this testimony have to do with Detective Goodman's murder?
I'm glad you asked. I don't know. That will soon become apparent, Your Honor. You gotta admire him for his courage, considering he has no evidence.
Very well. The defense may begin its cross-examination.
Your Honor, I got fired. I was waiting in my sister's office that day. What the fuck is an office? 2 years ago, the defendant was a detective at the police department, correct? Yes. She was second in command under then Deputy Chief of Police Gant. My sister. She was the best detective ever.
Yes, I remember. Deputy Chief Gant and Miss Sky used to be quite the pair.
I believe they shared the same office. That's right. I'd always sit at my sister's desk and dream about playing that organ. I wanted to play it that day too. The police department and prosecutor's office held a ceremony that day. Lana promised to take me to dinner after she finished her work. A man came running in and took me hostage. A man? Yes, Joe Dark. He was a serial killer. Joe Dark was brought in for questioning on the day of that ceremony. We were desperate to get anything on him that would lead to an arrest.
When he saw his chance, he fled the room, right?
Upon fleeing the room, Dark proceeded to take the elevator. He must have been in a panic because the elevator was going up. Then he ran into Sky in Gant's office. There was a lot of noise coming from outside, so I opened up the door to have a look. That's when I saw him. Neil Marshall rescued me. Who's Neil Marshall? What was the prosecutor doing in there? That day, there were two people present during Dark's questioning. Deputy Chief Damon Gant and Prosecutor Neil Marshall. Almost forgot about Gant. Neil Marshall had just received the King of Prosecutors Award. Young and dedicated, he went straight for the questioning room after the ceremony.
I assumed that would be why he was the first to run after Dark.
When Dark grabbed me, I thought I was as good as dead. That's when Prosecutor Marshall came running in. I don't clearly remember what happened then, but I'll never forget what I saw in that instant. Can you tell us about that? Mr. Marshall jumped on Dark, and then just the lights went out.
Lights?
It was just about this time of year. There was a terrible storm going on, and lightning struck nearby. So the electricity went out.
Wait a minute. If it was pitch dark in that room, you shouldn't have been able to see anything, right?
Right, but just then lightning flashed out outside. That sudden flash left an unforgettable image of the scene in my mind.
I see.
I told the detective about what I saw then. The detective? Yes. Detective Goodman. He was in charge of the case. Detective Bruce Goodman. The victim. So you spoke with Detective Goodman about this 2 years ago. Yes, that's what's so scary about this trial. And you told Detective Goodman about what you saw. Yes, but at the time the words just wouldn't come out. That's why I drew a picture. A picture? Oh. Yes, I think she mentioned that before.
Well, Mr. Wright, have you heard enough?
This picture the witness drew, I believe it has a very important meaning.
But the list of evidence I was given 2 years ago didn't contain a picture.
Witness, would you mind if we added this statement to your testimony?
Yes, Your Honor. I drew a picture that seamless, but it seems to have been lost. You drew a picture of the scene you witnessed, right? Yes, I wanted to do everything I could to help the investigation. I can still see it now, whenever I close my eyes.
That's strange. I took over the case after Prosecutor Marshall died. Yet I never received any picture. Perhaps the witness is mistaken?
But I did draw it, I swear. I'm not just imagining it. picture that Emma drew. That reminds me. I guess I should check the evidence again.
Well, anyway, let's continue. The scene that imprinted an image in your mind. Can you please describe it to us?
The man!
The killer!
Man raised up his knife and stabbed Mr. Marshall in the chest. That must have been a real shock. Even now when I close my eyes, I can still see it just as clearly.
Tell us, what were you doing at that moment? I believe you testified Joe Dark was holding you hostage?
Yes, I was busy being held hostage. When lightning struck and the lights went out, Mr. Marshall jumped on Dark. I was thrown aside and the two began wrestling each other. I'm pretty sure I was watching them. Emma doesn't have any reason to lie. Lana sure does. I need to get Emma to tell me as much about this case as she can. Now I know what I have to do. I have to present my badge. Your Honor, what do you think about the witness's statement?
Oh, I'm not sure I follow.
It clearly contradicts the, I thought...
You don't sound very convinced, Mr. Wright. Objection overruled.
I don't think that won me any points with the judge. No problemo. As a heads up, I can do you a little recap. So Emma isn't dead. Joe Dark killed some people. And now we have to find Emma's picture. Which, of course, is on the ID record. Fuck. It's not there. Your Honor, I found cocaine.
Cocaine? Are you sure?
No. Unstable jar. Oh. The dark red stains must be blood traces from the incident 2 years ago. Only the fragment found in Chief Gant's office still has lines remaining on it. Security video. Oh, no thank you. Oh, he killed 6 people. Oh, we actually, in one of the trials, we saw this video 8 times because you had to present it 8 times. So this is what we thought was a murder in the evidence room. But really, that man right there in the coat, that's actually the cowboy. He's just disguised as the victim. The real killer is the Blue Badger. Very interesting gameplay. So that's not it. Photo. Do we have the picture here? Check Damon Gant's hip pocket. He's hiding it there. Oh, yes. clear handprint can be seen on the leather cloth. The print belongs to Emma. I think I'll keep this information to myself. Evidence list. Hello? Work? Oh. Picture is drawn on the back of the evidence list in magic marker. I got a very bad feeling about this. Man came running in and took me hostage. Yo Marshall rescued me. I drew a picture of that scene once, but it seemed to have been lost. Objection! I have it right here. Mr. Edgeworth! This little girl put all her heart into drawing that picture. And yet you would insist on denying its existence?
Huh? Hey, I'm not the bad guy. All I'm saying is that the prosecutor for that case, as the prosecutor of that case, I wasn't handed such a picture.
That way it may well be. But that doesn't mean it doesn't exist. Behold.
This is the evidence list for the SO9 incident.
Please, turn it over, Your Honor. As I discovered, you can turn things over in this game.
Turn it over? Turn it... Ah! What's this?
Yes, what is that?
Hey! That's it, that's the picture I drew.
Indeed, two men appear to be wrestling here.
What's the meaning of this? What are you doing with that list?
Me?
Only the prosecutor in charge should have access to that list.
Huh? These lists, they're different from each other.
What?
It would appear, Mr. Edgeworth, that the evidence list you were handed 2 years ago was incomplete. These two lists fit together to form one. You can see the marks here where they were torn apart from each other.
So you see, Mr. Edgeworth, it's quite obvious what happened. 2 years ago, only half of the evidence in that case ever reached you.
What? What? Order! But Miss Sky, why did you draw your picture on the back of such an important list?
Because that's what Detective Goodman handed me in the questioning room, Your Honor. Into the void I go. Wait a minute. If this list was torn in half, then that means... Your Honor?
Are you alright, Miss Wright? Your eyes are bulging from your head.
If the evidence list was torn in half, then there might be more of the drawing on the back of Mr. Edgeworth's list.
Yes, that's quite conceivable. Mr. Edgeworth?
It's possible. Let's see, let me just turn this over.
Is something wrong?
Do you even have to ask?
Sorry, Your Honor, I'm normal now. There is indeed something drawn in the back of my list. It's that thing. The murderer.
That's that thing! The thing that was dancing in the evidence room!
Clearly, this act of vandalism is the work of a certain chief of detectives.
I guess he was out of scrap paper. Evidence list restored and updated in the court record.
Turn off the music. Very well, witness. Will you please testify about this picture you drew 2 years ago?
Huh? Oh! Yes, sir, Your Honor. What's wrong with Emma? She seemed to be thinking about something when she was looking at the picture. Huh. This is the picture I drew 2 years ago. The flash of lightning was so bright all I could see were the shadows. After that I must have fainted. This picture shows exactly what I saw in that instant.
To think a flash of lightning could burn such an image in your mind.
Thanks to that, though, she was able to show us exactly what she saw.
Well, I don't see any contradictions here. This clearly shows Joe Dark about to murder Prosecutor Neil Marshall. The defense may now begin its cross-examination.
Emma's picture. This is a picture that I drew 2 years ago. Hold it. What is art? Did you draw this picture right after the incidents? I think I drew it 2 or 3 days later. At first I was in such a state of shock that I couldn't do anything.
During that time, the investigation team was reorganized. Detective Goodman was placed in charge under the direction of Damon Gant and Lana Skye.
2 or 3 days later. The memory should still have been fresh in her mind.
Excuse me, witness. But can you please tell us why this picture is painted all black?
The flash of lightning was so bright, all I could see were shadows. So at the time, you didn't even know it was Mr. Marshall who had come to your rescue. No, I couldn't see him clearly. The lightning was so bright. I was knocked to the floor. You were knocked to the floor? Dark had a tight grip on me, but when Mr. Marshall jumped on him, I was knocked away. I turned around, and that's when the lightning flashed. Poor Emma. I'm glad she wasn't hurt. I'm just glad she wasn't hurt.
What happened after the lightning flashed?
After that, I must have fainted. Were you EP? Yes, I was EP. You mean you didn't see the actual murder take place? No, I'm sorry.
The flash of lightning only drove off the darkness for a split second. Not only that, but the trauma of the situation understandably caused the witness to faint. You really need to torture this girl any further?
What? Hey, I'm not the bad guy here. Anyway, this picture. This picture shows exactly what I saw in that instant. The Union Man killing the cowboy. Sorry for asking so many times, but are you sure you drew exactly what you saw? Of course, this is the exact scene. It wasn't influenced in any way from your talks with the detectives.
Are you insinuating that we somehow manipulated her memory, Mr. Wright?
No, of course not. Better watch out, or he might find some way to cut my salary. I drew this picture before I heard anything from the detectives, so I don't think anyone's story would have influenced me.
Mr. Wright, there's something that's bothering you about this picture.
Huh? Oh, well... That's strange. She claims this is exactly the scene that was imprinted in her mind, and yet there's clearly a contradiction here. This is the picture I drew 2 years ago. So there's something wrong with this statement. So how was Joe Dark killed? Well, we know this is not the right knife, because Gumshoe told us in the last trial that the knife wound in Marshall didn't match this one. Oh, so it's that. So it's not that. Your Honor, that statement contradicts this evidence.
No!
This picture shows exactly what I saw in that instant. Oh, absolutely. Like, a lot of this trial is not about, proving Lana innocent or guilty. That was all for the first trial. Everything else, they're trying to find out stuff around it. Because, everything kind of, like, we don't have the picture anymore. We kind of can't, refute this picture. She has blood on her. So we're, focusing on everything that we might be able to refute. Fuck! Your Honor! Whoops, that didn't go so well. Case solved, Your Honor. Do you know what a uterus is?
No!
Oh, it's his autopsy report. I hate to be the bearer of bad news, but this picture the witness drew contains a blatant contradiction. What? But I still remember it like it was just yesterday.
Mr. Wright, we have to kill you. Perhaps it would be faster if you simply pointed out this contradiction for us. What part of this picture contradicts the autopsy report?
Knife. The contradiction, of course, lies here. Take a look at the knife the man is holding. If you look closely, you can see its tip is broken.
Even I don't have to look closely to see that, Mr. Wright.
Mr. Wright, look at the evidence. See the murder weapon? Its tip is broken too.
If I recall, the tip of the knife was found broken off in the victim's body.
It was conclusive pieces of evidence that proved Joe Dark was the murderer. I'm afraid it's not so simple, Emma.
And where, praise hell, could you possibly see a problem?
It's obvious, really. The victim suffered a single stab wound to the back. If the victim was only stabbed once, then the murder weapon should not yet be broken.
Ah! What's the meaning of this?
Perhaps the knife was broken beforehand.
Sorry, but I'm afraid that's not possible. The tip of the knife was found inside the victim's body. If it was broken beforehand, it couldn't possibly wind up there.
That's right, but what does this mean?
The tip of the knife was undeniably discovered within the victim's body. The only possible explanation is the witness's memory is mistaken.
That's why I asked her so many times if she was sure she remembered correctly. I believe you were annoyed at the time, but she was sure she remembered correctly.
But there's no other way to explain this inconsistency.
Not so fast, Mr. Edgeworth. There is another explanation. Have you forgotten already? About a little something called falsified evidence?
You're treading on thin ice, Wright.
All I'm saying is that this broken knife might be the piece of evidence that was forged. You can't deny the possibility.
No.
Ugh!
Order! Order! Are you saying the investigation really was corrupted?
Your Honor, please allow me to once again go over the events that took place the day of the murder. The police department and the prosecutor's office were holding a ceremony that day. After receiving the King of Prosecutors Award at the ceremony, Neil Marshall died, questioned Joe Dark along with Damon Gantz. During his questioning, Agent 47 fled the room. Prosecutor Marshall chased after him and was killed by Dark. It is my belief that somewhere in this story, there is a lie. I'm not lying. Man really was holding up a broken knife.
If that's true, then there's no other way around it. This could not have been the actual murder weapon. There must have been another broken knife.
What are the chances of there being 2 broken knives?
Another broken knife besides Joe Dark's. Could there have been one? There is another one. If the witness is adamant about the accuracy of what she saw, it can't be explained away by just a simple observational error. Mr. Wright! In that instant, Emma really did see a broken knife.
I assume then that you have some information about this other broken knife? If so, please feel free to enlighten us.
A murder weapon that was already broken prior to the murder. There's only one way. Take a look at this. Here's the real murder weapon. This is my badge, and it proves the answer lies in the past, 2 years in the past, right here inside this picture. This is a picture of the award
What is it, Mr. Edgeworth?
It's the broken murder weapon.
Notice the award Prosecutor Marshall is holding. That's a broken knife! As we earlier concluded, the knife in the drawing was Joe Dark's knife. That being the case, the knife the witness saw was in all likelihood from this award. When Neil Marshall was chasing Joe Dark, he carried that trophy all the way with him.
Order! Order! Order!
Neil Marshall was awarded King of Prosecutors that day. As an award, he was given a broken shield and a knife. When he chased after Joe Dark, he pulled out this knife, again, from the trophy he had in his pocket. Being a prosecutor, he did not carry a pistol. This broken knife was the only weapon he had in this dangerous situation.
But that can't be.
Oh, and why not, Mr. Edgeworth?
Because if the King of Prosecutors award knife was the murder weapon, then the murder and the victim would be reversed.
What do you mean?
I mean, this man raising a knife would have been Prosecutor Neil Marshall.
Oh.
Ooh.
But the prosecutor was the one who actually died!
That's true. Oh, what's going on here? What the fuck is going on here?
It seems that Mr. Wright has been a bit too eager to jump to conclusions.
Is that Lana? Wait, I remember now. I remember everything.
Witness?
The moments of realization. Mr. Edgeworth!
What is it?
Could you show me your evidence list again, please?
His list? The one with the picture scribbled on the back?
That's him! I knew it! This picture! It's the murderer! I'm the one who drew it.
What?
You drew that. That's right. The list wasn't torn in half at the time I drew this picture. All this time I've been trying so hard to forget. I must have locked this part away deep inside me.
Perhaps it would be best if we added this to the witness's testimony. Would you please tell us what you recalled, Miss Skye?
Yes, Your Honor. First the knife mix-up, and now the blue badge. This should be interesting. Emma's recollection. When I saw that man raise his knife, I panicked and rushed towards both of them. I think I knocked away the man with the knife. Just then there was another flash of lightning, and that's when I saw the blue badger. He wasn't in the room, but I'm sure I saw his shadow. Trust me, when you see how it factors in, you may not be too happy.
Certainly most unusual.
Try impossible. The chief of detectives hadn't even designed him until this year.
That'd mean he didn't even exist 2 years ago.
Very well. The defense may now begin its cross-examination.
Stop, please. Don't pursue this any further.
Lana,
What's the meaning of this? Please remain seated in the defendant's chair.
Oh, you can't do this. I've already confessed to the crime. Why can't you just leave it at that? Chief Prosecutor Sky, we've already come this far. It's too late to turn back.
Silence! The defense will now begin its cross-examination. Bailiff, please detain the defendants.
seems we're finally getting to the core of the matter. When I saw that man raise his knife, what the fuck is a knife? When you say that man, I assume you refer to Joe Dark. Yes, at least I think it was him. You think? All I could really see were shadows.
The power outage that immediately preceded the incident. It is also documented in the prosecutor's office reports.
So then you...
I panicked and rushed towards both of them. Oops. Why would you do something so dangerous? What else could I have done? He was about to stab Mr. Marshall. You seemed convinced that Dark was the one holding the knife.
But as we just theorized, Mr. Marshall was the one holding the knife.
Well, I didn't know that at the time. That when that dark guy knocked me down, all I could think was, I've got to help that other person. I think I knocked away the man with the knife.
What do you mean you think?
It all happened so fast, and I was in shock. I don't remember everything clearly. What I did, it's all kind of a blur.
Miss Sky was almost killed before she was witness to a murder about to take place. With so much happening in a matter of seconds, a little disorientation is only natural.
I saw the man about to stab the other person who I thought was Mr. Marshall. I knew I had to stop the man with a knife.
What you did was very brave, young girl. So, what happened next?
Just then there was another flash of lightning, and that's when I saw the blue badger.
Are you sure about this?
Of course, see? I even drew a picture of him here.
What? It was the chief of detectives who thought up this hideous beast. And that was just this year. The blue badger didn't even exist 2 years ago. That is all quite verifiable.
I know it sounds strange. I was surprised too when I saw him at the police department. I had this nagging feeling that I'd seen him before somewhere.
I killed Marshall!
Now I finally remember! No, brother. Just when you thought this thing had caused enough commotion.
Tell us, where in the room did you see him dancing?
He wasn't in the room, but I'm sure I saw his shadow.
His shadow.
So you mean you didn't actually see his face with its winning smile and all? That's right, but I still remember it. He had 3 creepy horns.
This is pointless. That thing couldn't have possibly existed 2 years ago. The witness must be mistaken.
That may well be. But what's important is what caused her to think she saw what she did.
Oh, and I suppose you have an explanation? If so, by all means, please tell us what this shadow really was. What was it Emma saw when the light flashed? Who is this blue badger, really?
I just might know. The blue badger hadn't even been dreamt up when Emma drew this picture, yet she's certain she saw its shadow. Ladies and gentlemen, it is the defense's belief that on that fateful day 2 years ago, there indeed was something that looked similar to the blue badger. Something that is now sitting in this very room. Mr. Wright!
In this room? Very well, Mr. Wright. What is it that the witness saw in that instant? Please show us this mysterious blue badger look-alike.
You have any guesses?
It's you.
The mysterious blue badger was in fact this.
That's... what exactly is that?
So I'm gonna do something real quick. I believe it's some sort of jar, but Mr. Wright, that doesn't look anything like the blue badger. Indeed it doesn't. As it stands now, it's just a plain jar. However, what if we were to change our viewpoint?
Our viewpoint?
I've got to show them the correct angle to look at this from. Please be right. This isn't right. I gotta make it look more like the blue badger. Allow me to remind the defense that its case witnesses on the witnesses drawing. If Mr. Wright can't match the shape the witness drew, we cannot accept his claim. We're gonna find just the right angle. Maybe I should rotate it vertically a little more or horizontally. Come on, Mr. Wright, you can do it. I've got to show them the correct angle to look at this. Now you see why I saved. It's here, Your Honor. Well, is this a miracle or what? That I got that on my second try, when I've seen people do that for 30 minutes. No one can possibly deny this jar's resemblance to the blue badger. No, it can't be. That right there is a speedrun killer.
Order, order! Defense has proven its claim. The mysterious blue badger witnessed on the day of the crime was actually this.
Although we all enjoyed Mr. Wright's dramatic performance, one question remains. What's your point? What do you mean?
So that Blue Badger thing was actually just a jar. That doesn't change anything.
I'm afraid that's where you're wrong, Mr. Edgeworth. You see, this changes everything.
Indeed, very well then. Please tell us, what's different now that we know the witness saw the draw?
The location. Allow me to take these in turn. At the moment of the murder, the witness saw this jar.
At a very specific angle, I might add, Mr. Wright.
Yes, well, knowing this, where could she have seen the jar?
Where?
The location of the jar is shown in a picture taken on the day of the crime. Oops, didn't mean to hit that. It's on a shelf in the office of Damon Gantz.
But the body was found lying near Lana Sky's desk. The witness had testified so herself.
Yes, and it is these two facts that reveal what actually transpired. You see, the struggle between Dark and Marshall did not take place in Lana Sky's office. It happened on the other side of the room, in Chief Gantz's office.
Are you implying the murderer moved the victim's body? From Damon Gantz's office to Lana Sky's office?
Yes,
Why would he do that? There's no reason.
exactly. If there wasn't a reason, he wouldn't have gone through the trouble. The only logical conclusion is that there was a reason.
Do you know what the reason was, Mr. Wright?
Yes, but let's say reason a few more times. I finally figured it out. But this is why Lana tried to stop the trial. It's too late to quit now, though. Please, recall the witness's testimony. She said she knocked away the man who was holding up the knife. In the next instant, jar was hit and flew through the air. Now tell me, what could have sent the jar flying?
That would have to have been the impact the man made when he was knocked into the wall.
Ladies and gentlemen, if I may draw your attention to this picture once more. If the man was knocked into the wall, the direction of the shelf the jar was sitting on, what would he have hit?
Ah!
A suit of armor, holding a very sharp and dangerous-looking sword.
It's actually a javelin, Your Honor. Yes. And since the man who was knocked into the broken armor was carrying a broken knife, he would have had to have been Neil Marshall, wielding the King of Prosecutors trophy.
No. Miss Wright, you can't be thinking.
Yes. There is another possibility of what actually transpired in that room.
Another possibility?
Of course, the perpetrator would have had no idea, but nevertheless, I don't know if I can go through with this.
Mr. Wright, what's the matter?
If events took place as the defense theorizes, then the outcome is obvious. In that moment, assuming the man Emma Sky knocked away was actually Prosecutor Neil Marshall,
You mean Mr. Marshall died because of me? No!
I never imagined her testimony would lead to this.
So, it was the witness who took the victim's life, and then proved so with her own testimony. This is unprecedented.
What? What are you saying?
I'm so sorry, Miss Sky. But given the circumstances,
Joe Doc murdered Prosecutor Marshall. How can you think it was Emma? How dare you try to pin the crime on her? Imagine that coming from you. If you recall, it was you who admitted to forging evidence 2 years ago. The reason you moved the Prosecutor Marshall's body was to keep anyone else from finding out what Emma did, wasn't it? I assure you, Mr. Edgeworth, I have no idea what you're talking about. If you hope to have anyone believe your insane allegations, I'm afraid you're going to have proof. Tell me, do you have any conclusive evidence that proves my sister killed Neil Marshall? Evidence? I'm willing to bet you don't.
Yes, it would certainly be difficult to prove this with evidence.
If we don't have evidence, then we'll have to rely on testimony. I'm afraid that won't work in this case. Both parties involved in the incident are dead.
Certainly can't get dead people to testify. Maya? Can we bring Maya? It's all been a wild goose chase from the beginning.
Touche, Miss Skye. Of course, that only leaves us with one possibility.
I mean, there's still another possibility.
What do you mean, Mr. Edgeworth?
I mean the possibility that the victim left us a message. For better or for worse, Mr. Marshall did not die instantly. He may have left behind the name of the person who took his life. In one matter or another.
It's impossible.
Well, Mr. Wright, the only possibility left to you. A message from the deceased. Does such a message exist?
Gotta think back to the court record. The real murderer's name that the victim may have left behind is in the evidence. This message from the deceased is already in our possession.
Mr. Wright, will you please stop at nothing to prove my sister a murderer? Do not be mistaken, Miss Skye. Our purpose is not to accuse Emma of any crime. There's only one thing we seek. The truth. No matter how painful it can be.
Now then, Mr. Wright, please show us the piece of evidence that conveys a message from the deceased.
This is the message left by the deceased.
This is that blue badger from before, right?
Oh, is he going to speak the killer's name? If that thing could, I'm sure it would.
It's like everyone's forgotten this is just a jar. A message was left on here, on the surface of this jar.
What do you mean?
If you look closely, you can see a faint trail of blood on this jar.
It looks like someone wiped the blood away.
Yes, but notice. For some reason, the blood on some of the fragments was not wiped away.
Yes, there's a line here drawn in blood.
So what you're saying is that these dots were once lines. Prosecutor Marshall did not die instantly. He used the few precious moments left to him to leave behind a message.
One that someone apparently wiped away. But blood must have seeped into the jar where the lines changed directions.
Precisely so. All we need to do is connect these points, and the victim's message will become apparent.
No.
Mr. Wright, what kind of message did the victim leave for us?
Your Honor, I believe these bloodstains will reveal to us the answer. Gotta connect these dots to make letters. There's only one thing the victim would have written given the circumstances. His murderer's name. Oh my god, it was Von fucking Karma. My stream's still up. Okay, we're still good. EA Games. It's in the ass. It's a defense attorney's duty to prove their client's innocence. That's why all I've been thinking about is saving Lana. After all my efforts, I never thought it would turn out like this. Emma.
So this is the final message Prosecutor Marshall left behind.
Of all the people, she may not have meant it, but in the end, the one who took the victim's life
Was Emma Skye.
Say, Worthy, can I say I didn't warn you?
Chief Gantz?
Do you understand the implications of what you've done? What? What are you talking about? 2 years ago, Joe Dark was sentenced to death. He was convicted because of his final murder. I believe you were the prosecutor in that case, were you not? Yes, Worthy. Because of you, an innocent man was sentenced to death. Not only that, but you used forged evidence to ensure his conviction.
Joe Dark really was a serial murderer. That's undeniable.
I'm afraid that's not important. Didn't you know? We aren't defenders of justice.
What?
We're merely keepers of the law. Sentencing a man to death is no light matter. Even if there wasn't a cover-up or evidence forgery, ultimately, the responsibility falls on the prosecutor in charge. Despite what anyone may say, this fact cannot be denied.
What's going on in the prosecutor's office? They might have seen it an innocent man who's death. How can he just sit there like it wasn't his fault?
Order! 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 Order!
The gavel's pounding fell on deaf ears. Unable to settle the crowd, the judge declared a recess. Where this trial is headed, no one knows. To be continued. Actually gonna make 2. February 25th, 12:06. Sorry, Edgeworth. I didn't mean to get you in trouble.
Don't worry about it. This is my problem, not yours.
Hope I'm not interrupting anything, pals.
Oh, yes I am. I'll come back later.
Wait, Detective Gumshoe! What is it?
You got a lot of nerve, pal, making a detective run all around while on duty. Let's hope enough you call me here. I've seen happy people at funerals.
I take it Lana's having you run errands again?
I tell you, this is the last time, pal. Here, she asked me to give you this if there was a break in today's trial.
Evidence law? Edgeworth was just talking about this the other... She gave me a fucking law book?
You must know the 2 rules of evidence law. Rule number 1, no evidence shall be shown without the approval of the police department. Is that right, Mr. Wright?
It seems so.
You'd at least study some evidence law, really.
Chief Prosecutor also wanted me to give you a message.
A message?
She said if you're planning to take him on, you're gonna need this book.
Him. Guess I'll need to give this book a thorough read. Evidence law from Miss Sky explains the 2 rules of evidence law. As in, the people in my chat are fucking schmovin'. And rule number 2, Emma killed someone.
Doesn't look like that book will help you too much, pal. All that's left now is the Chief Prosecutor's sentence.
That's where you're wrong, detective. Huh? Well, I don't think you're, familiar with me. While trying to read Homestuck many years ago, I accidentally read every other MS Paint comic when there was an option to click on them. So I'm well familiar with this. Rule number 1, no
evidence shall be shown without the approval of police departments. Rule number 2, unregistered evidence presented must be relevant to the case on trial.
Huh?
Haven't you figured it out yet? Why I'm still sitting in that prosecutor's seat? Despite all these allegations being thrown at me,
Mr. Edgeworth,
the real trial today hasn't begun yet.
what? What else is there left to do? Your credibility's all been ruined with this forged evidence you were unaware of, pal. Emma Sky found out she was unwittingly caused a man's death. And now you're telling me you want to do more? You gotta be kidding me, pal.
You're missing the point, detective. Lana didn't murder Detective Goodman. She merely stuck a knife into his dead body. That means the real killer is still out there.
What?
And we're gonna expose him. No matter what it takes. This case has hurt too many people. It's time to bring it to an end. $12:52. That was a 50-minute recess.
Court will now reconvene for the trial of Miss Lana Sky. Mr. Edgeworth,
Yes, Your Honor?
one of your friends is playing Sea of Thieves. The Inquiry Committee is planning to impose harsh penalties for your actions.
Thank you for the news, Your Honor.
Yes, well, him. Normally this is where the prosecution calls forth a witness.
You're correct. Everyone is going to jail.
But, this isn't easy to say. You see, there is some concern that you, Mr. Edgeworth, may have,
Struck a bargain. You think I may have manipulated the witnesses?
I didn't say that. It's just, you see, everyone's been talking and,
Very well, Your Honor. I have a solution.
a solution?
That being the case, the prosecution will allow the defense to call forth all further witnesses.
What? But there's no precedent for what you're proposing.
And undeniably, this is an unusual arrangement, but a very effective one. It would prove that I haven't struck any deals with the witnesses.
Well, Miss Wright, what do you say?
Unbelievable. Edgeworth has found a way to continue the trial. Very well. The defense accepts the prosecution's proposal.
Then it's settled. Your defense may now call forth the next witness.
Mr. Wrights, you do realize that this is your last chance. If you call the wrong witness, this trial is as good as it's over. The defense calls. Time has finally come to bring out the real murderer. Where's the Blue Badger? Damon Gantz. The defense calls Damon Gant to the stand.
Damon Gant. What does he have to do with anything?
I don't know. Yeah, Dick Gumshoe. Yeah, he's 30 years old. Oh, he's older than Edgeworth. The killer. As the defendant's partner 2 years ago, Mr. Gant has first-hand knowledge of the crime. I feel we should hear what he has to say about it.
As luck would have it, he should still be in the courthouse. He would also be the least likely to have been manipulated by me in any way. Wouldn't you agree, Your Honor?
True. Alright, bailiff, please escort Mr. Gant to the stand.
Hey, I'm Richard Bell, but everyone calls me Dick.
It's gonna be cruel.
Witness, please state your name and occupation.
What is this, some kind of practical joke? I was just on my way to lunch.
Your name and occupation, sir.
Worthy, are you sure you want to do this?
Your name and occupation.
So, you want to play hardball, eh? Please, Mr. Gant. Fine. My name is Damon Gant, and I'm the acting chief of police.
Now then, Chief Gant, the court requests to hear your testimony.
Oh, righto. What's with the grim face?
First, let's clear up this SL9 incident.
Oh, you mean the time when Lana's sister murdered that prosecutor? Personally, I think it's been made pretty clear already.
There are still some things unaccounted for.
Oh, like what?
Like the fact you almost spilled all your water on your fucking laptop. Like the role you played in all of this. All the errors there.
Son, either you're very brave or very foolish. You're aware, of course, that a police chief has all kinds of weapons at his disposal.
Weapons?
Are you familiar with a rocket launcher?
Oh, I don't have any weapon sounds on my soundboard. I have this, though.
Sure, take my testimony for example. I don't have to give it if I don't want to.
What? Is that true?
I'm afraid so. The chief of police has the right to refuse to testify.
Of course, such an action carries with it certain risks.
Don't worry, I'm not here to hinder your trial.
Fuck. Okay, we're gonna take a moment to mess with sound settings. Ooh. Testing. Okay, I saw the soundboard make sound that time.
Don't worry, I'm not here to hinder your trial. Just remember, If this turns out to be a big waste of time, don't say I didn't warn you.
Now it's through the right microphone instead of... Yeah, it was playing through the other one. My laptop mic.
Very well. The witness... Very well. The witness may now begin his testimony.
The SL9 incident.
As I recall, Neil and I were questioning him that day. To make a long story short, we slipped up. I thought power outage didn't help either. When I went to my office, I found Lana there. Apparently she had already arranged the crime scene. As you can see, I had nothing to do with the forgery. Is that when Doc was arrested? Him? He was lying on the floor unconscious. When Emma sent Neil flying, it seems Dark bumped his head. I see. Everything seems pretty clear-cut.
The police chief has the right to refuse to testify, and I'd better hit him hard and fast.
As I recall, Neil and I were questioning him that day.
As I recall, the ceremony was held at the police department that day.
Yes, that's right. I guess you could say I'm a workaholic. After winning his award, Neil was all fired up too. That's probably what spooked Dark and made him run away like that.
Was the defendant Lana Skye also present in that room?
I don't quite remember. At the very least, she wasn't there when Dark ran for it. To make a long story short, I shoved a whole bag of gel. We slipped up. That power outage didn't help either.
So the two of you ran immediately after him, right?
That's right, but Dark made it to the elevator first. So Neil and I split up. He went upstairs, I went downstairs. I guess you could say he got lucky.
What's this about a power outage?
Oh, that. The elevator stopped all of a sudden, and I got the shock of my life. Well, probably not as shocked as Neil when that knife went into his heart, though.
That's not funny.
When I went to my office, I found Lana there.
Could you tell us what you saw?
It was a shocking sight. Neil and that serial killer were lying in a heap on the floor, all tangled together.
Dark was also lying on the floor?
Yes, apparently he hit his head and was knocked out. Next to them were two poor girls.
Lana and Emma.
Lana was cradling Emma in her arms. Looking back at it now, she must have already known what her sister had done. Apparently she had already arranged the crime scene.
How can you know that?
Checked the internet lately? Because of the victim's body, it had already been moved.
So that means... you found the body near Lana's desk.
That's right. I think you said earlier, it was my suit of armor that really stabbed the prosecutor.
Yeah? Yes?
This one's calling me a redditor. And as you know, American imperialism is justified. Anyway, as you can see, I had nothing to do with this forgery.
So you're saying that the forgery had already taken place by the time you arrived at your office?
That's exactly what I'm saying. I can understand how Lana must have felt. But moving a body and hiding evidence are inexcusable, no matter what the circumstances.
Said how it really went down.
Staring at the witness won't do you any good, Mr. Wrights. If you're going to stare at anything, you're better off staring at the court record.
I didn't spray the armor!
Worthy, always the smooth talker.
Which piece of evidence ties Gant to the forgery? Lana did admit to forging evidence, but that can't be the whole truth. Somehow I've got to link Gant to the incident. Oh, that's right.
Yeah, you sprayed the whole room. You used my whole bottle of luminol spray.
Oh, recall Neil and I were questioning him to that day. To make a long story short, we slipped up.
Went to my office, found Lana there. Apparently she had already. So he had nothing to do with the forgery. We found the jar in his safe. You claim you had nothing to do with the forgery? Bullshit. But I'm afraid that claim is one you cannot back up.
Explain yourself.
Several pieces of evidence were found in your office. Take this jar, for example.
That's the blue battery you showed us earlier.
A piece of this jar was discovered in your safe. Not only that, but the evidence list I presented earlier was actually found inside your desk.
It was found where?
You see, Chief Gantz, these articles of evidence uncovered in your office are both concrete proof that you also played a part in this illegal investigation.
Chief Gant, what's the meaning of this? Here's a defense attorney who may even rival Worthy.
So you admit to it then, that you were involved in the forgery?
Who, me? Or do you mean you?
Me? Why would I have anything to do with that?
Well, you were the one who snuck into my office when you found this evidence. Prosecutors aren't the only ones capable of forging evidence, you know. Defense attorneys can do so too. Isn't that right, Rido?
However, Detective Gumshoe was present during the investigation.
Worthy, my boy. Not even detectives are exempt from the law. Rest assured, Dick will receive his due punishments. I didn't know it was 3 a.m.
What? If Detective Gumshoe's salary drops any further, he got fired. I am 5.
Yes, well, in the light of the defense's presence. Please give us your testimony regarding these pieces of evidence found in your office, and their relation to the forgery that took place at the crime scene. My. Kids these days no longer know how to put 2 and 2 together.
Evidence and forgery.
Let's see, what is it now? A jar fragment and a list? For all I know, you could have planted them in my office. By the way, you can't prove when those pieces of evidence were discovered. If they were found after Dark was convicted then, they're worthless. There's no reason I'd participated in a forgery. Rearranging the crime scene wouldn't help me out in any way. Miss Wright?
Yes, Your Honor?
When investigating the crime scene, you should have been more careful to observe the protocol. You do understand that I am the chief of police, right? There will be consequences. Indeed, I believe I will press charges, so you won't make the same mistake again. My apologies, Chief, but would you mind waiting until tomorrow for that? Today is, well, you know. Alright, Audrey, in return, though. I know, that place, right?
Huh? What are these guys, telepathic? What's going on here?
For all I know, you could have planted them in my office.
I'd appreciate it if you stopped making these ridiculous allegations.
I'd appreciate it if you didn't go into my fucking safe. Yes, you do have a point. You wouldn't have the guts to do something like that.
What? I'll have you know, back in the day, I once broke into a cattle ranch and tipped.
Mr. Wright! Mr. Wright! What are you saying? Anyway, you can't prove you didn't carry in the evidence, can you? If you have proof to the contrary, you're gonna need it later.
Later? What are you talking about?
What else? I'm talking about when Rhino's prints are found. Yes, if they're found inside my safe, that would prove his investigation was illegal.
I've never faced anyone as slimy as... What about Von Karma?
Anyway, you can't prove when those pieces of evidence were discovered.
What do you mean by that?
This is all purely hypothetical, of course. But suppose I did place those items in my safe. Such an act wouldn't necessarily constitute forgery.
I think he did. If concealing evidence found at a crime scene isn't forgery...
I'm not through speaking yet, Rhino. It all depends on when the evidence was discovered. They were found after Dark was convicted, then they're worthless.
Are you saying this jar fragment wasn't discovered in the initial investigation? Oh, something along the lines of like, Gant said,
Alright, but in exchange we're gonna meet in that place, right?
and the judge said,
Yeah, I know, that place. It would appear not. After all, it wasn't listed in the evidence list. For all we know, it could have suddenly materialized the day after Dark was sentenced.
oh, and wouldn't that be convenient, right?
The Chief is talking about a possibility so long as you can't rule that out. Your remarks, however clever as they may be, will only succeed in wasting time.
Tell me something I don't know.
Come now, Rhino. Think about it. There's no reason I'd participate in a forgery.
How can you look at me in the eye and say that?
Because I'm innocent. Remember? Who was it that murdered Neil? I'm not sure I care for the word murder here. But in the end, the person responsible for Mr. Marshall's unfortunate demise was Emma Skye. Well, now do you see? Rearranging the crime scene wouldn't help me out in any way.
Really, Chief Gant? At the very least, there is one very large benefit you reaped from all of this.
Oh? I wasn't aware. What is this, benefits?
That would be, of course, the position you have. Chief of Police.
Oh!
The resolution of the SO9 incident secured your promotion to Chief. That in itself is sufficient motive.
Oh! That's a good one.
Huh?
You really think I'm that incompetent?
What do you mean?
Even without that case, I was already in line to become the next chief. The resolution of the SO9 incident merely sped up the inevitable a little.
Is that true, Edgeworth?
Yes, he was going to be made chief anyway.
Gah! Be careful when pointing that finger, or you may wind up being the one pointed at.
So that means there's only one possible motive for you to commit forgery. If you didn't do it for yourself, then you did it for someone else.
Don't be silly, Worthy. You know me better than that. There are only 3 people I look out for. Me, myself, and I. There, it's out in the open now. Ajay, would you mind if I changed my testimony a little?
By all means, please do.
I wouldn't be anyone's accomplice if there wasn't nothing in it for me.
Nothing in it for you?
Alright, but there's only one person. But the only person I truly care about is yours truly. That girl. Lana's little sister, was it?
Sorry about that.
Someone came into the room.
If you think I haven't felt sorry for her, you better think again. You just clicked on XSplit, didn't you?
You're right, you don't feel sorry for anyone.
Be tough on crime and tough on people. That's how I was raised.
You seem to be lax enough on yourself, though.
Oh, that's a good one, Worthy.
Could there have been something in it for him? Given his selfishness, would he have helped someone out? True, you might not help out anyone for their sake, but if it would benefit you, you might decide to assist someone.
Mr. Wright, it appears you're positively determined to portray the chief as a nice man who likes to lend people a hand.
That's not what I mean.
Very well then. Who is this person you believe Chief Cat may have helped forge evidence?
I'm glad you asked. Where the fuck is the Blue Badger?
Chief Prosecutor Lana Sky? The defendants?
I believe it's quite obvious in the light of the circumstances. Emma Sky fell victim to an unfortunate series of events. Who would want to help her more than her own sister, Lana? And for Chief Gant, he would have a reason to help Lana if she asked him to. That reason, of course, is self-profit.
Self-profit? What do you mean?
After the SL9 incident was resolved, Lana Sky was appointed chief prosecutor at the prosecutor's office. The person who arranged this job change was you, Chief Gant.
But how would he profit from all this?
I'm glad you asked. Money.
He would have been able to use the chief prosecutor as his puppets. Essentially, he would acquire unchecked authority over all investigations.
You mean to tell me that Isaiah the Chief, despite the Chief's formidable appearance, he plays with puppets? Oh wait! You must mean puppet as in someone forced to do his bidding. Never mind.
Admit it, Chief. You assisted Lana Sky in the forging evidence. Your motive, to appoint her as chief prosecutor so you could control her.
Right on, my boy, you have quite an imagination. Let me ask you something.
What?
It's time to burn the incense. It's time to raise the sheep. Do you have any proof that I controlled Lana? For example, is Lana testifying that I've done such a thing? She better not have, or I'll fucking turn her into paste.
Lana. She's keeping quiet to protect Emma. There's no way she'd testify against Gant.
I'm afraid without any proof this all amounts to nothing more than mere conjecture.
Unless that is also what happened in this incident.
This incident? What one would that be?
Of course I'm talking about the murder of Detective Bruce Goodman. The chief prosecutor has been acting strange throughout this entire trial. Almost as if someone has been controlling her.
Worthy, you better watch your tongue. I wouldn't want you to get hurt. Just what do you mean?
What he means, Your Honor, is that Chief Gant is involved in the murder of Detective Goodman. Not only that, but the Chief is now making Lana take the rap to cover up his involvement.
What? Order! 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 I said order! Miss Wright, you can't be serious!
Huh?
This is an affront to the highest ranking officer in our law enforcement agency. To accuse the chief of police of blackmail and murder? That's impossible!
Your Honor,
I was merely reiterating what Mr. Edgeworth said in easier to understand language.
It's too late, Mr. Wright. There's no turning back for us now.
Looks like he's the one who's decided to go through with this.
Can you prove this, Mr. Wright? That the chief, a high-ranking officer of the law, is involved in this murder?
Good question.
Regardless of his rank or title, Chief Gant is just a man. The question is he a criminal? I believe the evidence would tell.
I see. Alright then. Let's see what Mr. Wright got. And it better be good. Show us this evidence that ties Chief Gant to the murder of Detective Goodman. This is the ID card list.
Yes, the one that shows who entered the evidence room on the day of the crime. There was one ID on the list we couldn't determine the owner of yesterday. 777-7777.
Sorry, but there's no way you can prove that's my card number.
It's your number.
What? How do you know that?
The safe in Chief Gant's office requires a code to open. A 7-digit code.
7 digits. You don't mean...
I'm afraid so, Your Honor. The code was 777-7777. Same as the remaining ID card number on that list. Oh, absolutely. I love when that happens. And the first instance of it was with D. Vasquez, which is why I like that case so much. Chief Gant, you entered the evidence room on the day of the crime. Oh, he got mad.
Order! Order! Chief Gant, what do you have to say? Nothing. The defense's search of my office was in violation of regulations.
And I will demand that Mr. Wright be punished to the maximum extent of the law. But right now, this court demands an explanation from you about the use of this ID card.
Chief Gant, so you admit it? You entered the evidence room on the day of the crime? What about it? I'm chief of police. Whether it's the evidence room or the bathroom, what's the difference? I go anywhere I want.
Tell me. When you entered the room, were you alone?
I always go to the bathroom alone, as I do with the evidence room.
Detective Goodman wouldn't have happened to be with you that day, would he?
Of course not. Why would he be? I hadn't seen him in days.
You hadn't seen him in days? Chief Gant, I'm afraid you just undone yourself. On that day, you had to have met with Detective Goodman.
What do you mean? The trial's purpose is to determine Lana Sky's guilt.
No, it isn't, Your Honor. This trial's purpose is to determine the truth. If Chief Gant met the victim on the day of the crime, then we need to determine the one thing. What transpired during that meeting?
In that case, Mr. Wright, I'm going to have to ask you for evidence. Show us proof that the victim went to meet Chief Gant on the day of the crime.
Lost item report. Detective Goodman lost his ID card on the day of the crime. Or to be more accurate, Jake Marshall stole it. So Detective Goodman filled out a lost item report. He would have had to give that report to the Chief of Police.
Yet you're in possession of the report, which means you can't be sure if he filed it.
He filed it. How do I know, you ask? Because he needed to enter the evidence room that day.
He needed to?
Yes, to transfer the evidence out.
Oh!
Detective Goodman took the form to you, Chief Gant. Then, you accompanied the detective to the evidence room.
I accompanied him.
There's no other way the murderer and Detective Goodman could have entered the room.
Hold on. Let me guess what you're gonna say next. I, the chief of police, murdered poor Goodman. Exactly. But wait! Chief didn't necessarily need to accompany him to the evidence room. He could have just lent him his ID card. Yes, now that you mention it, I believe I might have done something of the sort. I don't think so, bitch. Sorry, but that's not possible. According to the record, your card was only used once. Yet you showed us your ID card earlier. If you had really lent it to Detective Goodman, it would have been found on his body. No! Chief Gant, you didn't! The murder weapon was likely a spur-of-the-moment crime, for no one in their right mind would choose the police department as a place to commit murder. After the murder, you contacted Lana at the prosecutor's office. Why? To dispose of Detective Goodman's body, of course. You're forgetting something, Mr. Wrights. That the victim's body was discovered in the prosecutor's office parking lot. How did he manage to move it there? Oh yeah, like, I love his freak-out animation. Like, it looks like he just got struck by lightning. I was at the police department the entire day, you know. And everyone aware that Lana stayed at the prosecutor's office that ceremony? Everyone except me, it seems. Still, you're chief of police. You have an entire police force at your disposal. Oh, so you think I just ordered an officer to do it? Hey, you, take this here dead body over to the prosecutor's office. I don't think so. Chief Gant, you left all the evidence we need to prove how you moved the body to the prosecutor's office. And all this time I thought it was a useless clue just taking up space. How could the chief of police move the body? Mr. Wright, show us this evidence. To move the victim's body, Chief Gant used this. This is how he moved Detective Goodman's body. What's that? A screwdriver? But what does that have to do with this case? Mr. Edgeworth, think back to the day of the crime. What is this screwdriver doing here? It's here because... Ugh! I was asked to go by Chief Gant, no less. He told me he wanted me to keep it here in the prosecutor's office. In any case, on the day of the stabbings, I brought this back here. After the ceremony ended that day, I didn't plan to return to the prosecutor's office. But you did. Because Chief Gant asked you to. You mean The body was found in the trunk of Mr. Edgeworth's car. I think it's obvious what happened. The body was moved by that car. Detective Goodman's body was carried in the trunk of Mr. Edgeworth's car? Yes. Unless, of course, you have another explanation, Chief. Why would you have asked Mr. Edgeworth to transport evidence from a closed case? There's only one plausible explanation. Transport the body to your accomplice, Miss Lana Skye. Order! What's going on here? Is there no room for rebuttal against the defense's outrageous accusations? Think back to the photograph Miss Starr took at the prosecutor's office. This was not a photo of the body being stuffed in the trunk to be taken away. It was exactly the opposite. It's a photo of the body being taken from the trunk. Chief Gant, please say something. I believe your time's up. My time's up? Sorry, Righto, but I'm having lunch with the District Attorney General after this. We have to get going if we're gonna make it in time for the early bird special.
But cross-examination isn't finished yet.
Remember what I told you earlier? A police chief has all kinds of weapons at his disposal.
Weapons?
Like the right to refuse to testify. I'm invoking that right now. What? It's not a right to be casually invoked. There's certain risks to be considered.
So you're going to just run away after all of this?
Not so fast! The early bird special already ended! Alright, how about brunch then? Sounds good to me! By the way, don't make me laugh, Worthy. I stabbed old Goodman. That's what you're trying to say, right? What if you had any conclusive evidence? You would have presented it by now.
Well,
You think I had Lana dispose of the body? If so, show your proof and get it over with. I'll say it again, Mr. Wright. Damon Gant is the current chief of police. This court will not tolerate any accusations against him without concrete proof. Well, Mr. Wright?
Your Honor?
Do you have any concrete proof? Proof that Chief Gant murdered Detective Goodman and made Miss Sky dispose of his body.
Do I have any concrete proof? Can't let him just squirm his way out of this. Gotta keep the pressure on. Yes, Your Honor. I do have such evidence.
Please hurry up and present it. Just remember, gotta prove Chief Gant murdered Detective Goodman beyond a shadow of a doubt. So, what exactly is this evidence?
It's proof as to whether or not to demonstrate the Chief's guilt. I'll let you be the judge.
But I am the judge.
Oh, right. Well, what do you think, Your Honor?
I think, Mr. Wright, is that I'm gonna be late for lunch.
Guess it wasn't enough. Please, Your Honor, give me a little longer to consider.
I'll say it again, Mr. Wright. Damon Gant is the chief of police. This court will not tolerate any accusations. Do you have any proof?
I have no proof. There's no use showing evidence I'm not even sure of myself. No, Your Honor. At present, I have no conclusive evidence.
See, Aji?
No, it wasn't Gant who designed it. It was, someone else. I think he's chief of police. The chief of detectives designed it.
In that case, the court is forced to penalize you for your allegations against the chief.
What?
Here's a tip. Never gamble what you can't afford to lose, righto? Seems that Lady Luck was on my side again today. Okay, Aji, I'll leave the rest to you. I warned you earlier, Mr. Wright. The front to a senior office in our nation's law enforcement agency.
Whoa! Whoa! Yes, but you forgot about the background characters that the artist didn't draw.
Lady Luck, maybe we should have a word with her.
Mr. Edgeworth,
What do you mean? There's one lady who knows the real truth behind this trial. We haven't yet had the honor of hearing her testimony.
A lady who knows the truth. Another witness.
In the absence of conclusive evidence, there's only The only other method of proof is testimony.
Chief Gan has invoked his right to refuse to testify.
There's still someone else. One more witness who can answer all the questions raised in this trial. Someone right in this very room.
Mr. Edgeworth, who is this person?
Why are you asking me, Your Honor? Have you forgotten?
Oh yeah. And not even him, he got fired.
The defense is the one calling the witnesses today.
Mr. Wright, does such a witness exist?
They may not be willing to tell the truth, but we can't just stop now. Yeah, Gumshoe got fired. Damon Gant. When we investigated his office with Gumshoe, he said something along the lines of,
Oh, you the one with the scraggly coat. Drop off your badge by the office. You won't be needing it anymore.
and then he also kept Emma in the office with him in that same instant and just shooed right out of the office. So he's fired.
The defendant? Miss Lana Sky?
She was in the underground parking lot at 5:15 p.m. on February 21st. Her task, to dispose of the victim's body, in accordance with a certain someone's orders.
Mr. Edgeworth?
The prosecution has no objections, Your Honor.
Very well, the court will now take its final recess for the day. In 15 minutes, we will reconvene to hear the defendant's testimony. This court is now in...
Hold on.
Huh?
Oh.
Chief Gant, I thought you were going to eat. Listen good, Alana.
He's talking to Lana.
I don't think you need me to tell you this, but if you accept Mr. Wright's claims, there will be terrible consequences. That's right. Your sister will be found guilty for Neil Marshall's murder.
Ah! This isn't good.
Of course, you'd never support such an outrageous claim anyway, right? Just something to think about. Alright then. I've got a lunch date to meet.
Uh-oh.
Okay, if there aren't any further objections, this court is now in recess.
Well, we're fucked. Looks like we managed to stay in the game.
Yeah, thanks to your help, Edgeworth.
Yeah, Chief, he's something else, eh, pals?
Detective Gumshoe.
I'm not a detective anymore.
Oh yeah, sorry about that.
Don't worry about it, I already decided where to work now. At your office.
My office?
Fuck yeah.
Sure.
I'll take the place that top-knotted girl you used to work with.
Could he mean... Maya?
Still looks like we're all out of moves now. Chief Gant's done it again. How is it he always gets the upper hand?
Not fair he has the right to refuse to testify. I think you forgot, Mr. Wright. Everyone has the right to refuse to testify. It's called the Fifth. Remember what the judge just said?
We can't. That is not a right to be casually invoked. There are certain risks to be considered.
Risks. What did he mean by that? It's simple. If the chief refuses to testify, the opposite also holds true. I mean, he forfeits his right to say anything too. Fuck. Emma, are you okay? Yeah, when I came to, I was in the medical office. I've been listening to the trial from the gallery. So she heard everything that's been going on. Emma? I'm sorry for what I said before. No, don't be. It was the truth. You know, it's funny. I almost feel somehow relieved. Relieved? Yeah. Now I finally know what really happened. To think that all this time, my sister was being blackmailed by that terrible man. And she did it all just to protect me.
Ever since her appointment as chief prosecutor, everyone who knew her said she changed. Perhaps it was easier that... Perhaps it was easier that way for her.
What do you mean?
What do you think I mean, to follow Chief Gant's orders? She must have shut herself up deep inside, to force herself to do anything and everything the Chief told her to.
That must be why she became so cold. It was all my fault. It's all because I murdered Neil Marshall.
Hey, don't go blaming yourself now. If you want to blame anyone, blame society, pal.
Chief Gant might be able to fool everyone else with his forgery, but he can't fool my memory. I remember now. I knocked Mr. Marshall into that armor. I see.
Well, we'd better get back. It's time for the final act.
Emma, why don't you wait? No, I'm going with you. I want to be here. Be there when Lana tells the truth.
Let's go, Wright. It's time to end this.
Oh, another one.
But we're not through yet. I am finishing this today, even if it means we don't see Ghost Trick, unfortunately.
Letter 2.
February 25th, 2:21 p.m., District Court Room number 9.
Oh, Emma's there.
Now then, will the defendant, Miss Lana Skye, please take the stand?
No, it didn't get patched. But I looked it up, and there are some solutions too, because it does crash a lot for other people, and there are some solutions out there.
Miss Lana Skye, you are the chief prosecutor. I'm sure you're aware of what is required of you.
Mr. Edgeworth, you already know everything. You know all that I've done these past 2 years.
Please provide the court with your testimony, Miss Skye. And remember, you are under oath. We want to hear the truth.
Of course, the truth. Lana, no matter what happens, I'll always be your sister.
Now then, your testimony, if you will. First, tell us about your relationship with Chief Gant.
Everything hinges on your testimony. You're the only chance we have to get Gant.
I worked alongside Gant for years. There's no truth to this blackmail theory. I fabricated the evidence 2 years ago all by myself. When I found Prosecutor Marshall's body, I rearranged the crime scene. My only motivation was to get Doc convicted. It had nothing to do with Emma.
Are you sure about this testimony?
Your Honor, I'm confessing to a capital defense. Of course I'm sure. Lana!
If this is true, then that means Chief Gant has nothing to do with this.
That's what I've been telling you from the beginning. Please, Mr. Wright, you've got to help her. She's sacrificing herself because of me. What if she's telling the truth? She's not. I know my own sister. Whenever she speaks stiffly like that, she's hiding something inside. Deep down, she's really screaming in agony. Yeah. This is no time to start second-guessing myself.
The defense may now begin its cross-examination.
Gant in the fabrication.
I worked alongside Gant for years.
How many years exactly?
Ever since I made senior detective. Let's see, I was 24 then, so that would be 5 years.
Detective Gant and Detective Skye were legendary partners. I personally saw them testify in numerous cases.
He must have been good coming from the same school as Mia.
Damon Gant was a respectable detective, that's why.
There's no truth to this blackmail theory. But think about it, Miss Sky. You didn't murder Detective Goodman. You told me as much yesterday in jail. You still don't get it, do you, Mr. Wright? Any testimony you cannot present at court is as useless as idle gossip. I stabbed Detective Goodman with a knife. And I fabricated the evidence 2 years ago, all by myself. Did you do so to help your sister? Joe Dock was a serial killer. My sister almost became his last victim that day. I didn't want that incident to ruin her life. But what she did was justifiable self-defense. She wouldn't have been charged with anything. That's not the point. She was traumatized that day all because of that creep. That's why I couldn't forgive him. Lana!
So that's why you fabricated the evidence 2 years ago?
When I found Prosecutor Marshall's body, I rearranged the crime scene. You say you did this all by yourself? Yes. Would you mind telling us what you found when you arrived at the crime scene? Seems I was the first person to discover the scene. The broken prosecutor award knife was stuck in the victim's body. What? Prosecutor Marshall died from an unfortunate accident. That's only a situation you dreamed was possible. The reality is, it wasn't my sister who took the prosecutor's life. Fantasize all you want, Mr. Wright, but it'll never change the statement. You mean, Prosecutor Marshall wound up being killed by Doc? Something like that. If that is so, what happened to the other murder weapon? Doc was carrying a switchblade knife. Oh, that was lying on the floor a little distance away. It was probably knocked away in the struggle. That's not how it went down. She's trying to cover up her lies with more lies. All just to protect me.
So when you found the scene like this, what did you do? After all, this is what everything boils down to.
Yes. I broke off the tip of Doc's knife and planted it inside the wound, then moved the body. You planted the tip of Doc's knife in the victim's wound,
And then you moved the body?
That's why. Why would you do that? You of all people should know, Edgeworth. You always had a good head on your shoulders. My head isn't that bad, but I ought to ask for the sake of others. When you showed up on the scene, where exactly was the victim's body? It was where you deduced it was, by Chief Gant's desk. But the body was found by your desk. Why did you move it there? The reason for that is simple.
Let's have the witness explain this in more detail. The reason Miss Guy moved the body.
Pieces of the jaw that shattered during the event threatened my plan. Pieces of the jar, you mean? Yes, that wretched jar you showed us earlier. In order to show that Doc committed the crime, I felt it would be more expedient to move the body. So, when you found the body, the jar was already... Of course, it had been shattered to pieces. If you looked at the crime scene, it would have been clear right away what happened. Neil Marshall was dead and Doc was laying unconscious. In other words, the jaw must have been broken during the struggle.
I see.
What's the matter, Emma? Apparently the jar shattered at the time the crime was committed, but I have a feeling there's more to it than that. Must be a contradiction here somewhere. Anyway, I committed this fabrication completely alone. My only motivation was to get Doc convicted. It had nothing to do with Emma. So you rearranged the crime scene. Are you sure you didn't do this to keep Emma from looking like the murderer? How many times do I have to tell you, Mr. Wright? Emma didn't do it. Period. Are you so desperate to hide that fact? You're willing to risk the death sentence? She's lying! She did it so I wouldn't be blamed for what happened! In any case, as a prosecutor, what I've done is unpardonable. There's nothing I can do to make up for my actions. That's right, my sister's lying! Looks like she's determined to protect you to the end. She insists she fabricated the evidence herself. There's no way she could have done it alone. I've got to get Lana to talk more. She's lying, but she's bound to slip up and make a contradiction. This jar? Miss Sky, I understand how you feel. You committed that crime 2 years ago to protect your sister.
You mean the forgery at the scene where Neil Marshall was murdered?
If that truth were to be exposed now, the past 2 years of your life will have been in vain. Even so, I am compelled to bring to everyone's attention a significant contradiction within your testimony. A contradiction in my testimony? You testified, I quote, "The pieces of the jar that shattered during the events threatened my plan." That's right.
You have a problem with that?
It's a simple oversight, really. You see, a message was written on this jar with the victim's blood. Yes, the prosecutor must have written it in his final moments. Exactly so. And this is where the contradiction lies. In order for the victim to be able to write this message on the jar, it must not yet have been broken before he died. He couldn't have written Emma's name on a shattered jar.
Order!
Your Honor, it would appear more information is needed in regard to this jar and its bloody message. We may be missing something critical. We may be missing something critical here. Something critical? Chief Prosecutor, it seems you're in the dark, as we are, about the truth towards which we're headed. Just tell us exactly what you saw. We'll piece together the information to arrive at the truth.
Very well, the witness may now continue her testimony.
Jar and message in blood. I immediately noticed the blood traces on the jar, but it was dark in the room, and I didn't have time to check it out. To be safe, I wiped away the blood. Fragments were large, so I'm sure I got them all. All I could think about was wiping them clean before they were discovered. Fuck. I wasn't chief prosecutor at the time. She didn't think Dark was the real murderer. That's why she tried to erase the real evidence.
Very well, the defense may now begin its cross-examination.
I immediately noticed the blood traces on the jar. So the... Okay, it said it had connected. I'm still connected. The middle of that thing hadn't broken earlier.
It certainly looks as feeble as the defense's case.
Not as feeble as the judge's judgment. You are an ace detective who never missed a detail. Do you really expect us to believe you didn't investigate what was written on the jar pieces? Normally I would have. But it was dark in the room, and I didn't have time to check it out. So you didn't know your sister's name was written on the jar? No. If I had known, I would have gathered all the pieces and ground them to dust. Well, that helps my case. Lana, you do that for me? Seems you two might make up yet. Anyway, I just barely had enough time to move the body as it was.
If someone else happened upon the scene, you'd lose your chance to erase the evidence. You must have been in a hurry.
I was. I knew I had to destroy the evidence before anyone came.
This is rather shocking.
Be safe, I wiped away all the blood. I'm afraid this action of yours reveals what really happened.
What do you mean?
If you really thought Dark killed Prosecutor Marshall, you wouldn't have wiped away the blood. What else could I have done in that situation? Lana! I only had a few moments. There wasn't enough time for me to do anything else but to gather up the pieces. Fragments were large, so I'm sure I got them all. But how could you see with the power out? It should have been pitch black in that office. The detective is always prepared, Mr. Wrights. Even now, I always carry a pocket light and a camera with me. Even I carry a body of emergency luminol wherever I go. Oh, can I use it? No! I never miss anything. I got every last piece. All I could think about was wiping them clean before they were discovered. So you illegally rearranged the crime scene? Yes. I don't have any excuse for my actions. I'm so sorry, Lana. I didn't know. I treated you so badly all this time. It's not too late. There's still plenty of time to make up. After we've gotten to the bottom of this incident.
No doubt this day will leave a permanent stain on the history of the prosecutor's office.
And Von Karma won't? More contradictions have surfaced in her testimony. Your sister's really putting up a fight. She must really care about you. Still, she's not doing the right way. I think I finally figured out the contradictions in her testimony. There's one final possibility that might turn everything around. Sure, you got them all, eh? Then how come we found part of the jar in Gant's safe? Miss Sky, I believe this jar conceals a truth even you were unaware of. What? Oops, I'm a little further away than usual. What? We found the final piece of this jar in Chief Gant's safe. The Chief's safe? But how? I knew it. She really didn't know. There's something even more disturbing about that final piece. There was still blood on it.
But the witness just testified that she gathered every last piece and wiped the blood off them.
Yes, which leaves us with only one explanation. On the night Prosecutor Marshall was murdered, you were not the first one to show up on the scene. Chief Gant got there before you.
But couldn't the defendant have simply missed a piece?
I'm afraid that's unlikely. The pieces are too big for anyone to miss, let alone an ace detective.
That very well may be, but everyone makes mistakes. Even I once wasted an entire day looking for my dentures. They were in my mouth all along. Can you believe that?
Have you forgotten, Your Honor? When this witness arrived at the scene, the jar was already broken.
Oh, that.
There's no way a name could have been written on a shattered jar. Another person discovered the scene prior to the witness.
I hope you're not implying that this person was Chief Gant at the time. He was looking for Doc downstairs. Besides, even if he were there first, why would he break the jar?
The question is, if he did arrive there first, why did he hide that fact for 2 years? Well, Your Honor, can you answer that?
No! Wait, I'm not the one on trial here.
Damon Gant arrived at the crime scene, prior to the witness. proceeded to break the jaw and purposely hit the one of the broken pieces. Question. What is this action called? Fabrication of evidence.
But why would Chief Gant do that?
In light of what happened afterwards, isn't it clear?
What happened afterwards?
Uncovering the scene, Lana Skye believed her system Emma Skye killed the victim and then played Dead by Daylight. Determined to help her sister, she sought Gant's aid. Lending her his aid, Gant helped her create evidence that incriminated Dark. Sparing Emma, and therein lies the reason. The reason why Miss Skye became the Chief's puppet. No, I did it on my own. Please, sis, stop trying to protect the Chief. I can't watch you suffer anymore for my sake. No, you didn't. It wasn't you, Emma. You didn't kill anyone. Don't believe anything Mr. Wright says. Defense attorneys make up the most foul lies to defend their clients. Foul lies? Imagine that coming from my own client.
I guess you do seem the type who likes to twist the truth.
Wait a minute. What if we're still smack dab in the middle of Gant's trap?
Is something wrong, Mr. Wright?
Lana, maybe right after all. What do you mean, Wright? So, you do tell foul lies then, Miss Wright? Miss Skye, please testify once more. But if evidence was fabricated behind your back, then Emma's accidental killing of Prosecutor Marshall might also be a lie. But I remember knocking over Mr. Marshall. Miss Skye, if you will. I can't. There's nothing to be afraid of anymore. Thus, cross-examination may not change a thing. However, there is a possibility that it will, if you tell the truth. Very well. I'll testify about what I really saw.
Alright, the witness may testify once more, for the final time.
Actual crime scene. When I arrived, I found Mr. Marshall's body impaled on that suit of armor's sword. Emma and Doc were lying unconscious on the floor nearby. When I saw what happened, I thought she did it. That's why I erased all the evidence that linked her to the murder. I had Chief Gant help me remove the body from the sword and carry it. But if it all really was a fabrication, Emma might be innocent.
Unbelievable. The body was impaled on the armor sword.
You are the only one who saw that. If only you had proof. Actually, I do have proof. I gave it to Mr. Wright this morning. What? To me? It's a picture I took of the crime scene as I encountered it. I thought it might be needed. But I don't remember receiving a picture like that. Lana must have known. See, Mr. Wright, she really does have faith in you.
Very well, Mr. Wright, please present this picture.
I don't remember receiving any pictures from Lana. Lana said she gave it to you this morning, right? I seem to remember getting something from her then. Let's check that evidence again. There must be a picture in there somewhere. The duck. Oh. Hey, there's a picture here. Oh. Oh my. This is the actual crime scene. No other detective saw the crime scene like this, because I contacted Criminal Affairs only after I rearranged everything. Mr. Wright! That piece cut out from his vest! Could that be... Shit! That still has Emma's fingerprints. Cloth we found inside Chief Gant's safe. What's this? This is a handprint, isn't it? That cloth! It had fingerprints on it. Whoever's fingerprints those are must be the real murderer. What? But those fingerprints... They're yours, Emma? Why are your lips turning all purple, Mr. Wright?
Anyway, let's get on with the cross-examination. So long as you tell the truth, we should be able to flush out the real murderer.
Very well, the defense may now begin its cross-examination.
Actual crime scene. When I arrived, I found Mr. Marshall's body impaled.
Come now, Udgy. This is the poorest excuse for a trial I've ever seen. Chief Gant? What, now you want to make me out as the bad guy, too? If so, I'd like to put in a word or two in my defense.
I'm afraid it's too late for that.
What?
We already declined to testify. That means you forfeited your right to make statements of any sort.
This must be that risk we were talking about earlier.
Just sit back and relax, and enjoy the sound of the noose tightening around your neck.
Check it out, Miles, I just got vaccinated. So what? You think I'm worried?
Yeah?
Sorry to disappoint you, but I don't need to make any statements.
What do you mean?
The evidence that will do all the talking for me. Even if I can't testify, I can still present evidence. Yes, that's true. Wait, you mean you still have some conclusive evidence? Oh, I don't, but someone does. Someone. So, what's your excuse, Righto? Why have you been keeping quiet about it? You do have something to show us, right? Something that proves who knocked over Neil Marshall, causing his death. Conclusive evidence that leaves no room for doubts. Is this true, Mr. Wright?
I show that piece of evidence now. Emma's sure to be made out as the murderer.
Mr. Wright, if you have any more evidence presented now, and if you try to conceal anything, you will be the one appearing before the Board of Inquiries.
What do I do now? I better think this through carefully. I can't afford to make a wrong decision. Should I present that piece of evidence? The one that shows who really killed Prosecutor Marshall? Yes, Your Honor. I do have further evidence. Alright, time's finally come to show it to them. Those prints have got to be the Chief's.
Now then, let's see this conclusive evidence. The evidence that shows who actually murdered Prosecutor Marshall. It's a piece of leather cloth.
Yes, it most likely was cut from the victim's vest near his chest.
What's this? There's a big handprint on it. Surely it must have been left on the cloth by whoever shoved the victim into the sword.
What?
What? Whose fingerprints are on this? I'm sure Righto has checked, haven't you? Well, who are they?
They're Miss Lana Skies. They're Miss Skies, Miss Emma Skies. What? They're mine? So I really did do it.
See, I told you it was conclusive.
But this was found in your safe. That means it's possible you forged it.
I don't know what you're talking about. I don't remember any cloth in my safe. Do you really expect me to believe that?
But give it up, Mr. Wrights. It's over. You shouldn't have presented that. By presenting that evidence, you tied Emma Skye to Neil Marshall's death. No.
It appears we have our killer.
No! No! Everything hinged on that point. In the end, Emma Skye was found guilty. So was Lana Skye. Say hello to the actual instance of a bad ending. They both get found guilty. Emma and Lana Skye. Your Honor, I don't have any evidence I can present at this time.
What? You lie! Chief Gantz! You opened my safe! I know you took what was inside. The conclusive evidence.
I don't know what you're talking about. Mr. Wright, why don't you show them? We found it together.
Oh, I see. It's because you know the truth, don't you? You know whose fingerprints are on it. That's why you won't present it.
What are you talking about?
Chief Gantz! How do you figure it out? You just dropped your microphone. Take a good look at this picture. See the victim's vest? Notice anything odd about the chest area? It looks just like part of it's been cut out for some reason.
You mean you have this in your safe? What?
What? Then that means you, the chief of police, have been concealing evidence. This is going to be the biggest scandal in the history of the police departments. Impressive. To be honest, I don't think you had the gall, Rido. Well, I can't just let you pin me up as the murderer. I'll tell you what really happened. What? You admit to it?
You can't testify.
I was the first person to arrive at the scene of the crime that day. It then occurred to me that I could use the situation to control Lana.
So you really were manipulating her?
I knew Lana. If I made her look like a blame lay with her sister, that when she saw the scene, she would ask me for my aid.
So you assisted Miss Skye?
I told her to arrange all the evidence. I had her plant the knife tip in the victim's body and move her body across the room.
And I ended up using that evidence to get Joe Doc convicted.
When I tampered with the crime scene, I had two pieces of evidence. This was before Lana arrived at the scene, mind you.
Two pieces of evidence? You mean those items in your safe?
But why? For insurance, of course.
Insurance?
I was sure my plan would work, but it's always best to be prepared for the worst. I wasn't about to let anyone blame me for a murder that girl committed. You mean you are calculating that far ahead while forging evidence? What do you take me for, a fool? I didn't make police chief by dumb luck. See this jar fragment? I hit the most legible part of Emma's name. I didn't expect Lana to go and wipe the blood all off the pieces.
What if you fabricated all the evidence? What's to say you didn't fabricate the message on this jar too?
Some people just don't know when to quit, do they? That's why I kept one more item for insurance.
You mean that piece of cloth?
Come on, Rhino. Cough it up already. I know you have it.
What are you waiting for, Mr. Wright? So you admit to it then, Chief Gant, that you were hiding the cloth you cut off the victim's vest in your safe.
Yes, I admit it. I don't want to have to do that being chief and all. But it's a lot better than being portrayed as a murderer. Well, Mr. Wright, what do you have to say for yourself? Just a moment ago you said you didn't have any evidence you could present. Foolish move, Rhino. You should have shown it then before it was too late.
It's been a long battle. But the moment of truth has finally arrived. As long as I don't mess up here, victory is mine. Your Honor, I do have evidence to present now.
Alright then, let's see this conclusive evidence. The evidence that shows who actually murdered Prosecutor Marshall.
Let me verify this once more. On the day of the crime, you personally cut out this piece of the victim's vest.
Oh yes, at last you finally brought it out into the open. There's a handprint on this piece of cloth.
Your Honor, our prosecution requests that be immediately sent to the lab for analysis. This handprint on the leather. There must have been a strong impact for it to be left so clearly.
You mean?
It could not have been forged. It must be authentic, conclusive evidence.
You're as slow on the uptake as ever, Worthy.
What?
Think about it. Rhino had all this time to present this evidence. Yet he was reluctant to do so. Why would that be?
You mean you already know? You know whose fingerprints are on that. Mr. Wright, do you really know? Give me a second. Okay, there we are. And I'm back. I had to eat a little bit of food so that I stopped being dizzy.
Whoever the fingerprints belong to must be the real murderer. Whose fingerprints are they?
Very well. I'll tell you. Should be okay now. Everything's proceeding as predicted. The person to whom these fingerprints belong to is...
Emma Sky?
What? They're mine? I'm sorry, Emma. But why? Why didn't you tell me?
Oh, ho, ho, ho! You're really something, Righto. You knew this girl did it all along, and you still tried to pin the murder on me. So it's true, tragic but true. This girl really did shove Prosecutor Marshall to his death.
How could you? You monster!
Miss Sky?
You knew whose fingerprints those were all along, yet you acted like she really didn't. Miss Sky, it's not over yet. What? I said this trial isn't over yet.
Well, I'm afraid it is over, boy. Not only this trial, but your career, too. You purposely concealed this conclusive evidence. That, my friend, is a serious offense. I'm looking forward to pressing charges after the defendant is convicted. I'll have your badge, boy. What's the matter? Got your tongue? Aren't you gonna tell us how it feels? How it feels to be the one who single-handedly turned a poor little girl into a murderer?
Before I do that, there's just one little thing I have to clear up.
Oh? And what's that?
Who really killed Prosecutor Neil Marshall?
What?
Chief Gant, you are absolutely right. This piece of cloth proves who the real murderer is. Who killed Neil Marshall, you ask?
It was Emma Sky, wasn't it?
I'm afraid that's not possible. You see, this piece of cloth contains a critical contradiction.
What? A contradiction? What is this fool babbling about?
I'm talking about a contradiction. One that proves who the real killer is.
Mr. Wright, this piece of cloth. What could it possibly contradict?
Chief Gant, your tyrannical reign ends here. Behold, the piece of evidence that contradicts this cloth.
And what exactly is this supposed to be?
This is the picture Miss Sky took. Take a good look at it. See where the piece of his vest was cut out?
Yeah. Yes, his shirt is showing underneath. It's hard to make out without the blood on his vest, though.
Exactly my point. His chest is soaked with blood. That is only natural. His lungs, no doubt, were punctured. Blood poured out of his mouth.
Oh, but that piece of cloth? Wait, there's no blood on it. Ah!
Since Emma Sky's fingerprints are on this cloth, there's no doubt that she shoved the prosecutor aside. However, Mr. Marshall was not impaled on the sword at that time.
No! This is nonsense!
Now then, Chief Gant, let me ask you something. Prosecutor Marshall was not impaled when he was shoved aside. He most likely hit his head on the ground and was knocked out. If so, then tell me, who could it have been? Who could have arrived at the scene before Miss Lana Sky, picked up the unconscious prosecutor, and impaled him
on the armor sword.
Then to make it look like Emma was responsible for the prosecutor's death, said person proceeded to write her name on the jar with the victim's blood. A jar that they then broke on purpose to leave behind a clue. And make Lana believe her sister did it.
Remember what you admitted only moments ago? That you personally cut out the bloodless piece of the victim's cloth. Ironic, isn't it? Through the very act of creating insurance, you proved that you were the actual murderer.
No!
It's finally all over.
Oh, that was close, Rhino. You almost had me. Sorry, but you'll have to do better than that. I refute your allegations. What do you mean you refute his allegations? You see that piece of cloth is illegal evidence. What nonsense is this? Illegal evidence cannot be used to convict a suspect. Remember, Aji? Earlier, old Rhino here concealed that piece of cloth. So then, what's your excuse, Rhino? You do have some conclusive evidence, don't you?
Your Honor, I don't have any evidence I can present at this point in time.
Well, that's true. The defense did refuse to present evidence. At that moment, that piece of cloth ceased to be legal evidence.
But that's not fair!
Oh, did you actually think you could best me in court? Looks like the last laugh's on you, son. I'm afraid Mr. Gant's claim is legally correct. Well, Mr. Edgeworth?
True, illegal evidence cannot be used to convict a person, assuming, of course, that the evidence is indeed illegal.
Well, Mr. Wright?
It seems, at last. Time for me to reveal my plan has arrived.
Mr. Wright, do you admit to it? That you purposely and illegally concealed this piece of cloth?
I did not. I admit, I refused to present it at one point.
Aha! So the evidence is illegal.
No, it isn't, Mr. Gant.
Huh?
It's not that I didn't present evidence then. It's that I couldn't.
What do you mean you couldn't?
There are certain procedures involved when presenting evidence.
No, Aji! Don't listen to his lies! He's nothing but a coward! You can't really believe—
There is only one issue left to be resolved in this trial. Is this evidence legal or not?
Very well, let us settle this once and for all. Earlier, you refused to present evidence. If you can prove your conduct was not in violation of the law, then let's do it.
I'm glad you asked. This is a law book that I have definitely read before. I took the bar exam, Your Honor. This is my proof, Your Honor. Evidence law.
What's this?
I'm glad you asked. I don't know. I've done my homework too, Chief. Indeed, Emma Sky's fingerprints were on this piece of cloth. However, at that point in time, this was merely a piece of cloth, nothing more.
What?
You see, it's written right here in this book. The second rule of evidence law. Nay! I'll tell you what happens.
Rule 1. No evidence shall be shown without the approval of the police department.
I found this piece of evidence myself, inside your safe.
It goes without saying, I did not have approval from the police department.
Rule number 2. Unregistered evidence presented must be relevant to the case on trial.
And here's the crux of the matter. You see, at the time, it was impossible for me to prove the relevance between the cloth and the SL9 incident.
What? What kind of nonsense is this? You want relevancy? Just take one look at this picture and...
Sorry, but can you recall when this picture was presented?
That was shown only a few moments ago. Oh,
He's right. At the beginning of today's trial, that piece of cloth was still meaningless. The person who gave it value as evidence was you, Damon Gant.
You yourself confessed to a certain truth.
Let me verify this once more. On the day of the crime, you personally cut out this piece of the victim's vest.
oh yes. Oh!
It was then that you approved this cloth as conclusive evidence. Yes, you, the chief of police, personally approved this cloth.
The only person who could have cut this from the victim's vest is the one who stood before Prosecutor Marshall in his final moments. In other words, the real murderer, and there's only one person who that could be. Damon Gant, the killer was you.
I knew I should have gotten rid of him. That good-for-nothing scum. For 2 years, he's been snooping around the department trying to get something on me. Crimes are being committed every day, yet he insisted on hounding me.
Well, your crime wasn't exactly petty.
He wanted to reinvestigate the case. He recruited Angel Star, then convinced Bruce Goodman.
Detective Goodman?
Yeah, that's right.
Reminder, by the way, I work at a haunted house.
Please, you've got to help me. Goodman turned him down, as he ought to. Still, Jake Marshall didn't know when to quit.
He stole Goodman's ID card and tried to take the evidence.
Goodman came to me that day. He wanted to file a lost item report. I went with him to the evidence room, and all of a sudden he decided to speak out.
Yes, eh?
What are you talking about, Goodman?
Can you please reopen the investigation, Chief? We can't transfer the evidence out. There's too many questions left unanswered.
He opened his evidence locker, and as he was taking the evidence out, he said,
It's not too late. I'm gonna hand all over to Marshall.
well, to be honest, I was a bit taken aback by his words. I had a bad feeling when he came to see me, but I never thought he'd bring up SL9. That's when I saw it. That accursed knife. I couldn't just pull it out.
Doing so would have led to more blood, making it near impossible for you to hide your crime.
Even so, the blood was just pouring out. I didn't know who might stumble in, so I hurried to wipe it up. I was worrying so much about the floor, I didn't realize my fatal mistake.
The bloody handprints on Detective Gumshoe's locker.
I used to be known as the crime computer, but everyone has to start somewhere, I guess. I was too nervous. I had no business doing any of it.
Then you put the blue body in my car?
I'm sorry, I couldn't think of any other way to move the body. I broke your trunk, but what's the big deal? You make a lot more than us detectives ever will.
Leaving the prosecution's car aside. Ow!
How could you get Miss Sky involved in all of this?
Well, she had as much to lose as I did if the truth came out.
But you took the evidence from Detective Goodman's locker.
I felt bad having to do it. I also didn't have time to pick and choose what to take.
So, you left the jar and fragments and the glove.
Yeah. Looks like I was better off being an investigator of crimes than a committer. They all did their best to get in my way. I've got to hand it to them. They do their jobs well, much to my dismay.
Fake evidence doesn't hold up very well upon close examination. You must have known that.
Tell me, Worthy, why do you stand in courts?
Me?
You despise criminals. I can feel it. You and me, we're the same. One day you'll understand. Oh, believe me, you will. You're just one man. You'll see what it really takes to bring them down once you try and go at it alone. Well, looks like it's time to say goodbye. Oh, Udgy. What? Looks like we'll have to cancel that lunch date. Sorry, old friend. I'm sorry too, Damon Gantz. I knew you as you used to be long ago. You were once a fine investigator, and an example to others on the force. I'm sorry to learn that you are no longer that person. Those days are gone now, Udgy. Thanks for all the memories, though. Don't worry, you'll be fine. Now you have Rhino here, and Worthy. With these two around, you can't go wrong. In fact, I can hear them already. The melodious sounds of a new beginning.
There are two things I want you to understand. Yes? First, your sister never hurt anyone. Second, Damon Gant betrayed you from the beginning. See, Miss Sky? You no longer have any reason to keep silent. You're right. When this trial is over, I'll tell everything. All that I've done these past 2 years. And the time I had Gant help me forge evidence, up until today.
So, it seems all of the questions raised in this trial have been answered.
I'm sorry, Miss Sky. I couldn't get you out of all your trouble. My. What high standards you have for a rookie. I can see why Mia thought so highly of you. Who knows? A few years from now, you just might make it to the top. I owe you my thanks, Mr. Wright. Miss Sky. And to you too, Mr. Edgeworth. You've suffered every bit as much as I have these past few years. Believe me, I know how much of an ordeal it's been for you. It was nothing. Liar. I was worried the pressure might break you. And yet, you rose above it all and guided Mr. Wright to victory. You've done well, Mr. Edgeworth. Stop it! I only did my job.
In light of this case, it seems a good self-examination is in order for all of us. Miss Sky?
Yes, Your Honor?
You are innocent of murder. However, although the chief blackmailed you, the fact is you still acted as his accomplice. A trial will be scheduled for these crimes at a later date.
Yes. I understand, Your Honor.
Is there something amusing about all of this? Why are you smiling?
It's been a long time, Your Honor. A long time since I have felt free of these heavy chains.
Well, this trial has gone on far too long already. Regardless of the charge of murder, the court finds the defendant, Miss Alana Sky,
Not guilty.
Oh,
That is all. This court is adjourned.
canonically, Gumshoe's the one throwing out that confetti after every not guilty verdict. At long last, it's finally over. Emma? Why the long face? My sister's in jail! I'm sorry your sister didn't get it completely off the hook. But at least she wasn't convicted for murder she didn't commit. No, that's not it! Just now, after the trial ended. I can see why Mia Faith thought so highly of you. I owe you my thanks, Mr. Wright. And to you, Mr. Edgeworth. You've suffered every bit as much as I have over these past few days. You've done well. You know, I did my best too. But Lana didn't say a single word to me.
Hope I'm not interrupting anything, pals. Oh, guess I am. I'll come back later.
Wait, Detective Gumshoe, what is it?
You're doing this on purpose, aren't you? Making a detective run around while on duty. What's up, Ralph? You call me here. I've seen happier people at funerals. Hey, line up, pals. I'm only kidding.
Oh, are you here because of my sister again?
Nope, not this time. I came today because of, you, pal.
Me?
That's right. I thought you'd, like to see someone.
Lana! Should you be doing this? She's still under arrest, you know. Oh, that's right, he's not a detective. Oops.
Well, I won't tell anyone if you won't.
Emma, I owe you an apology. It's okay, sis. Don't worry about it. That day 2 years ago was the first time in my life I ever panicked. It was all I could do to keep myself from screaming. All I could think about was keeping you from getting wrapped up in that mess. Sis! I asked Gant to help me cover up the truth. I thought I was doing it for your sake. But now, I realize I was wrong. I changed after that day. I had to. It was the only way I could make it through the past 2 years. I knew how much I was hurting you by distancing myself, but I couldn't bring myself to tell you what I did. I was scared. Scared that you'd look at me with those eyes of yours. I was scared how you would react if you knew. But sis, you were only doing it for me. No. Huh? I turned my back on you that day. In hiding what I believed to be the truth, I was deceiving you. Sis! I'm such a fool. It took me all this time to realize it. Emma, I'm so sorry. But sis! You don't have to apologize! I'm happy now. You're happy? Of course. You know, sis. I always knew that one day you'd come back. And now you have. Oh, Emma. Emma. Ah, that's fucking cute. No one can change the past. The only thing we can do is strive to make up for our mistakes. Why must we make up for our mistakes, you ask? Because in doing so, we can find the way back to our rightful path. And it is from there that we can move on forward toward a brighter future. At least that's what I felt, watching the two sisters make up. Mr. Wright? Mr. Gumshoe? Me? Thank you both after all you've done. I'm sure we'll meet again someday. Isn't that right, Edgeworth? Edgeworth? Stop hiding and come over here. Where was he hiding? I just came to say, congratulations. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Edgeworth.
Right, well, I'll be going now.
Mr. Edgeworth, I hope you don't blame yourself for what happened. We were the ones who acted corruptly, not you.
It's too late for me. No matter what anyone may say, I realized today that I can't correct my mistakes.
Mr. Edgeworth!
Not only that, but I don't even trust myself anymore. Chief Gant was right.
You despise criminals, I can feel it. You and me, we're the same. One day you'll understand. Oh, believe me. You're just one man. You'll see what it really takes to bring them down once you try to go at it alone.
I do despise criminals. I plan to dedicate my entire life to fighting them. But in order to fight crime on my own, I'd need a weapon. It's scary, but I've known that to be true for quite some time now.
But Edgeworth...
Who knows? Given enough time, I might have tried to pull something like Chief Gant did. That thought terrifies me. That's why I can't continue on as a prosecutor.
Edgeworth, don't you understand? Damon Gant and your mentor, Manfred von Kammer, were both the best of the best when it came to fighting crime. You tricked me!
Well, it was your mistake for believing me.
They both made the same mistake. You said in order to fight crime, I'd need a weapon. That may be true, but think back to today's trial. You weren't alone. Oh! This is the last time we're gonna hear the music from this game. Because all other games after this have new music. You're working together with Mr. Wright. And because of that partnership, you were able to present evidence that otherwise would have gone undiscovered. Isn't that right, Mr. Wright? Huh? What? Oh, yeah! What is this, a pop quiz? Come on, Mr. Wright, show them what Lana's talking about! Evidence, huh? Something that neither Edgeworth nor I would have been able to find on our own. This is my badge. And it proves... That's the picture I drew! Our counterattack began with this. You had one half of the evidence list, and I had the other half. Apart, we wouldn't have been able to completely restore Emma's picture. That didn't just happen by chance, Mr. Edgeworth.
It's time for me to go.
Mr. Edgeworth!
If you'll excuse me, there are still some loose ends that need wrapping up. Take care, Chief Prosecutor.
Edgeworth! What will you do now? Well, whatever you do, just remember. You can let what happened kill the prosecutor in you, or you can let it help you grow. In the end, it's up to you.
I know, it seems I owe you my thanks too, right? But what I face now is my problem.
Edgeworth, I'll be waiting for you in court.
Farewell.
I'd better be going too. Okay, but I'll be by to visit soon. Seems we both have a lot to learn, and catching up to do. Yeah, this is a little something for you. Scientific investigation. The first book I ever bought. Study it well. Thanks, sis, I will. And so, another case came to a close. As for the sisters, I have faith. Faith that their lives have only just begun.
But this is a DLC case, so you won't see them for the other 2 games. And as for me, I think it's time I started on a new journey of my own. A journey to rediscover myself.
Well, don't go trekking off just yet, Belle.
Huh? What is it, Detective?
There's just a little matter to be resolved about the chief prosecutor. You see, she isn't supposed to be out of jail like this.
What? I thought you said it was okay.
Yeah, well, it may be okay with me, but the folks at the prison are a different story.
Huh?
Basically, I had to bribe a guard in order to sneak her out for 30 minutes. Believe me, it wasn't cheap either.
Huh? Way to go, Detective. I didn't know you had a wild side.
Yeah, well, you see, Mr. Wright here's the one who'll be footing the bill.
Huh?
What, you think I could afford it with my salary? I just got fucking fired, pal. You gotta be kidding me, pal.
Huh? Thank you, Mr. Wright. You're the best. Why is it? I suddenly feel like I want to scream.
Yeah, I got an idea. Why don't we all go pay it off together?
Yeah, that's a great idea. Come on, guys. Let's go. I'm gonna be quiet for these credits because I actually like the credits. I arranged for a friend of mine in Europe to take care of Emma. I hope she'll be pleased to study under a top coroner. As for me, this affair has pretty much ended my days as the prosecutor's office. Still, I managed to find my way back to the field somehow. Then, I'll be able to investigate crime together with Emma.
Yikes, I thought I was a goner for a moment there. In the end, though, they overlooked my unauthorized investigation at the chief's office. If I will penalize you anymore, it'd be worse than firing you. Yep, that's what I said. Just goes to show, you can't shake me off that easily.
Gumshoe's rehired. Thank you.
My new mission is to guard the main entrance and take care of Billy. Can you believe it? I've been demoted to a security guard. My partner's keeping an eye on the entrance for me today. I'll show them though. Someday I'm gonna make a detective. Yes, sir. Then I can be just like that Dick Gumshoe.
You!
You have the green light. Take the shot when you feel like it. Phenomenal shot.
Oh, you thought it was the end of me. What is it? Can't you see I'm having me a showdown with a steak lunch partner? Miss Starr managed to sneak in this in for me. She's seen one of the guards, it seems. Well, cowboy, it seems like you did it. You even gave Bambino back her smile. Can you make sure Billy and the gang get their water?
Looks like we will once be seeing each other for a while, or ever again. As a farewell gift, I put a new meal on the menu. The right whale lunch. This top layer tastes as bitter as defeat, but the bottom layers as sweet as victory.
Kids seem to dig the turnabout seam. It's a hot seller around exam time. Just make sure not to eat its back foods.
I'll never forget what that young defense lawyer said after the trial. Let's see, what was his name again? Mr. Lift? Anyway, he said he'd been doing something, for, how many years? Well, anyways, I've got another trial to get to, so I better be... Oh? Oh no, I forgot my gavel! Sorry, gotta go!
To eat the sweet part first and then end it off with the bitter part.
Nothing soothes the soul like fresh country air. Still, something I do miss hearing. Sometimes I miss hearing you and your objection. I can't wait to go back until I'm a full-fledged spirit medium.
Mystic Maya, afternoon training's about to begin.
Coming! Well, see you around, Nick.
Testing.
Mr. Edgeworth!
Mr. Edgeworth. Oh, Mr. Edgeworth, I brought you your tea. What's going on? He resigned.
Thanks for coming to see me off. I can't believe I'm going to Europe. Thank you, Mr. Wright. Thank you so much for everything. I'm a little sad, but I'll be alright. Whenever I want to see Lana, all I have to do is open this book.
Can't see it, but I'm saluting too. Rise from the ashes. That is the end of Phoenix Wright's Ace Attorney. The first game. I'm very glad to have shared something that I personally was not blind to. But it was very fun. And although this isn't as nostalgic for me as it is for some other people that aren't blind to it, I still very much so enjoy the games. It's probably the thing that convinced me I could do this kind of thing. Especially since there's a prosecutor who almost has my voice. But we won't meet him for a while. And this game actually was important to me in 2019 where some things happened. Not a good time. This lifted me up. I will say it's
I don't know what I'm gonna do next. I'm probably gonna finish 2019.
A lot of bad cramps.
But yeah, that's gonna be the end of the stream. I don't know what I'm gonna do next. It's either gonna be the next game, not Rise from the Ashes. It's called Justice for All. Or I'm gonna do the game in the series where I'm not blind to it. I personally believe it should be saved until like the end of the series, but because it's a prequel, I can technically play it whenever. But Rise from the Ashes is a very controversial game, and I also has the benefit of being pretty high on my list. So until then, have a good day. I'll try and not cramp up again. Been a pleasure.